Hi, I have a guest with me today who has left multi-level marketing, and she has something to say. Her name is Jessica, and she has requested not to, reveal her identity, and I'm going to respect that. And it's important when people come forward and they start speaking out against multi-level marketing, sharing their stories. They do it in the way that they see fit. How they speak out, the things that they describe. It's important to give them a platform and to amplify their voices. And that's what I'm going to do here today. So I want to welcome my guest, and I hope that you really take a sit back and just listen to what she has to say. And this is Jessica. Jessica, the show is all yours. Welcome. And what would you like to say?
Thank you, Julie. Thank you. I appreciate it. So I was in WorldVentures from like 2014 until like 2020. And Julie, you were the first anti-MLM content that I ever saw. And that was like a little over a year ago. So I was like, yay, full circle here. So I actually watched the video that Aaron Klein did with you first. And my buddy Jeff actually was like, hey, like you should actually like watch this video and that kind of a thing. And then like I saw another video they did with like Kalika, and I'm really good friends with Kalika. And but yeah, so like I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. And I know we've had plenty of private conversations about some stuff, but so it'll be really good to just expose a lot of like what happened in WorldVentures, but also the aftermath that it still has on people, which is really just astounding to me. So yeah, I originally saw WorldVentures back when I was in college, and it was 2012. And initially I was like, oh, this is like kind of cool, like, you know, like whatever. I've never heard of like a travel club before. And I thought that it was a scam and everything initially. And then I got roped into it like 2 years later. I had a friend text me, and it was, you know, like the cryptic text, like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, are you free? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I'm free after my class. And so I met him in a coffee shop, and it was him and two other guys that were there that I've never met before. And I didn't know this is what they were doing at the time, but it's called blitzing, where like you just are in a group and you're just like all fired up. You're like, I'm just going to share the presentation and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's a form of like peer pressure. And so I saw like the presentation again, and, you know, like my upline leader, he was like, well, like, it's clearly not a scam. It's still around. And I was like, huh, like, you're right. Right, Julie? And that classic, well, it's still around. It's not a scam. And so I was like, okay, sure. And so like, I just like put it like on a, you know, debit card, and got signed up, and like, okay, like, what do you want out of WorldVentures? This, that. And, you know, like I had no interest in building the business at that time. And I was like, well, I just want to take some trips, you know, like I'm getting out of college. Like I really like helping people. Like that was my degree, was in human services. And like, well, we have the foundation. Like you can like go on trips with the foundation, and, you know, this and that, and then paint the dream of like, well, what if you could just help somebody without like time or money constraints? And I was like, oh, that'd be so cool. And so like they just like really roped you in initially with it. And they're like, okay, like what's like your names list? And like went down like, okay, like if you're gonna like hide a body at 2 a.m., like who you're gonna call, and like things like that. And so like right then and there, like, I know, right, Julie? That was Time WorldVentures.
Holy shit. What? I didn't see that question in Mon 8. WorldVentures is a different breed of MLMs, that's for sure. That's all I'm going to say. I'll get back to your story.
Yes, it's a different breed. It's like you're fun, like loving, like going like people, and you know, the most driven people that you know, and successful people, and that one. And so like right then and there, it was just like, okay, I got roped into this company, which I really didn't know anything about. And then all of a sudden, I'm being pressured by two guys in this coffee shop to go ahead and invite my friends to go see this. And my upline leader was literally looking over my phone and my texts and like helping me phrase it to invite people. And this is where like the peer pressure comes in right off the bat of like, I was in a public place for sure, but I had two guys I've never met before. I'm trusting this friend I've known for a couple of years. And instantly it's just this shift of like, like how far can they go with me? But they do it in a way to where it's not that obvious. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of fail to realize, like initially, like you get sucked in right away. Whether it's like on a smaller setting like that or like in a bigger group setting, you just get sucked in. And so I sent this text to a friend and she came over right away. And I got my first sign up within the first hour. And she was just like, this is like, I've never seen you be so excited about something. And this is so out of character for you. And like I had to sign up because of that. And that's something that, especially in WorldVentures, they used a lot of like, if it's like the quiet ones, like they win because, you know, people just see their excitement, like, oh, that's different. And then therefore, like they automatically just kind of sign up because of it. And so like right away, like that was just my initial start to WorldVentures. And I didn't show anybody else afterwards for a good like few months. But like my upline like leaders, they were pressuring me of like, hey, like this is like the next event to go to, the training. You know, when you're gonna go into like they call them travel parties. And there is a video that one of the IMDs, which was the highest rank of the company, Lorenzo Roybal. He has that on YouTube. So
I go to battle with you guys every single day, and I will for the rest of my life and the rest of Team WorldVentures. I mean, we got the best thing on the planet. And just as I've watched the rest of the recognition today and watching all the young guns coming up here, it's just like just affirmed my belief on how long this thing is going to last for generations, because we've just got so much great stuff happening. But
Julie has the link. So like this is how we're supposed to, you know, invite for like the travel party. You know, it's supposed to be fun and all that stuff. But like I didn't do anything for a while because I was like, this is awkward, but I'm paying for it. And I was like about to graduate college, and so like I really didn't do anything with it for like a little bit. But day one, I was invited into, you know, their Facebook group, and their group I was, you know, part of for many years was called the Rat Pack, which stands for retired at 20 or retired in the 30s or like retired and thankful. And I know Kalika's already talked about this before on your channel, but it just was like the thing, especially like in Colorado, to be like, oh, part of like the Rat Pack. And, you know, like we had so many like young dropout college students who were like, quote unquote, like retired because of WorldVentures. And like that was a huge selling point for them. Yeah, so day one I was invited into their Facebook group, and all of a sudden I was like love bombed and like just saw like, oh my gosh, people are having fun. And then after college, just like that, it's that transition of like, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing with my life. And I was like, oh, it's worth a shot, you know, like I paid for it and everything. And I had told a couple people about it, and it just was so bizarre of how like within a few months of just having that on your social media, plus like the constant like hey, like, are you doing like income producing activities today? You know, like, are you reading a book? Are you, you know, reaching out to someone? Are you making a connect on social media? You know, that kind of thing. Like, did you have your launch event? Are you helping a teammate out? And it just ropes you in. Like, it's so insane. And so I kind of signed up for a while, and I missed like the first big event that everybody went to, because like financially I just couldn't afford it. And I saw like how everybody was having so much fun, and I was like, oh my gosh, never again. I'm never gonna miss an event because it looks like so much fun. And you know, especially after college, it's hard to find like community. And so I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. I mean, there's a couple of the people that had signed up that I also had really trusted. And so I was like, well, if they're doing this, like, it should be fine. And I will say, for like the business side of it, I only signed up like 4 people at like the 6 years I was in. Thankfully, they all quit right away. And I was like, you guys are smart. None of them went to any sort of event that WorldVentures had, not even like a local one. And I had a lot of spillover on one side of my leg. I had like 90 people come through, just like spillover, because I sucked at signing up people for like a reason, because people just saw through it.
Can you explain what spillover is?
Yeah, of course. You know, like, you have like your 2 legs, the right side and like the left side. And spillover is when your upline leader puts someone underneath you, but it's someone that you didn't personally sign up, and they count towards like your team's volume for like your rank. So yeah, so I had a lot of that. And as Julie knows, my upline leader is very special. And he's really good about overcoming the objections that people had, and he really likes just to prove that he's always right. And so that personality with that environment is very toxic, and that's why he was able to sign up so many people, is because he just really took advantage of that skill set. Me, I was like, cool, if they can't do it, they can't do it. Like, I'm not going to push it. I remember like at the beginning, you know, I was like showing this person and this person, and, you know, I never had, so in WorldVentures, like, we were taught to always have like an expert with you, whether like you get them on the phone after you're showing somebody, or if you're doing like a 3-day call, like virtually, just have them on the phone like after the presentation. So that way, like, you know, they're the expert in the fields, like they know what they're doing, like your friends know like you've never done this before, so therefore like you have to have somebody who knows what they're doing basically on the phone with you. And I always hated doing that because it just felt really iffy to me for like a lot of reasons. Like, there's no true consent afterwards with having another person on the call with you, and it just puts your friend in an awkward position. And like, so like I rarely did that. And I got in trouble about that like a lot, because they're like, that's why you're not getting signups. And I'm like, I really don't care. I had this one instance where I had showed a friend WorldVentures, and she is on like social disability, and it's like financially, like I can't like swing it. But she's like, also like if I make too much money, I could get kicked off of it. I'm like, that's fair, like no problem. And I was like, cool, like whatever. And then I had told one of my upline leaders about it, and he was like, oh, like you need to talk to this person, because that's like a really, you know, good thing to kind of overcome. And so like I called this other person, and he told me, he was like, well, you should have told her, like, well, what if you don't have to work anymore or worry about social disability? And I was like, no, like that's not fair. And as someone who is currently working on getting on social disability myself, like it is a very hard process. And that's something like I would never want to take away from somebody. Like if they're on it, like they're on it for a reason. And also to like, all MLMs are very unstable. as we've seen with recent MLMs, like, Transact Card and Finmore and other companies, like it's not sustainable. And so, but yeah, I kind of got in trouble a lot because I was just kind of pushing the envelopes about it. And like, I would always have like the talk of like, this is why you're failing at your business. And I'm like, I don't care though. And so, yeah, it just was like so bizarre when it came to like, I was doing something wrong without even like doing something wrong. The first big event that I went to was in Atlanta, Georgia. And me, my upline, and a couple people, like, we just like road tripped out there. And I didn't have any like really any funds at that point because like I had just graduated college. I was still working on finding like a job. We drove out there. I didn't have a ticket. And this event was called The View from the Edge by good old Marcus Setup. The one who does all the skits that are edutainment. So therefore it cost a lot more. And the ticket for that full price was $600. Discounted, I know, Julie, discounted was like $300. And then as it got closer to the event, it got up to like $600. People were paying $600 to go see this training Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, plus whatever travel time to get there. And this was like the last event for the year. And so I did that, and I fell in love because of like the energy. I liked some of the skits that he had did, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, like the events, like they raise the belief, and you're like, oh, like we're not crazy. And so I see why like people get sucked into going to the events over and over and over again, and like why it's pushed so much to actually go. And it's like your own like little world. And now having not gone to like any events for like years now, and like I don't miss it at all. Like I really don't. I'm like, great, like screw the events, like I'm over them. But I just remember thinking like, man, this is so cool. Like I can really do this. And so like over the next year, I did show more people like WorldVentures and everything, like if they asked about it, because the little blue sign popped up on my Facebook quite a lot of you should be here. Again, I didn't do a whole lot with that side of like the company because it just that really wasn't for me. But I liked some of the connections I was making. I liked that I was able to travel some, just being able to help other people. And just, I know, like it was, for me, like it was just more like kind of educational of just getting out of my comfort zone and, meeting people from different like backgrounds and cultures. And for me, like that was like pretty cool and fascinating. And I had shown one of my brothers WorldVentures, and he was like, this is the stupidest thing ever. And at that point, like I had already gone to the event, and I cried about it because I was like, oh my gosh, this is not stupid. Like I was like truly heartbroken about it at the time. And like my upline leader was like, well, you need to get a backbone. And I was like, no, I don't really need to. Like, I already have one. But like, they had convinced me that I need to get a backbone. This is like a thing that I was like thinking about this morning, Julie, is that instead of saying like, oh, this is stupid, or, this is a scam to somebody, like it's helpful to actually prove why that's the case. When someone like joins initially or before they even join, and just get some of that educational background of like whatever company they're, being presented with. Because like for me, I think if someone was more upfront with like, here's the facts of X company, here's like the facts of the people that, run the company, I would have left a lot sooner versus just being like, oh, like whatever kind of a thing, or just like not saying like, or just like saying I just don't have like the time or money right now. But if more people were more direct about it, I think that definitely would have had a different outcome for me, and I would have been more receptive about it too, of just that information. So yeah, anyways, like after I was told like I need to get a backbone, like it's kind of ironic now because now I'm speaking out against them. I've joined multiple Facebook MLM groups since then, and got some good details on them. Speaking on my own way, and so I'm like, well, I have a backbone now. I got roped into the ambassador program that WorldVentures had, and I do have a bunch of screenshots of the t-shirts that I wore. So Julie will put that in, in the video. And just like what they said, and just like the colors and everything, it's very culty. It's very cult-like just to wear that. The ambassador program was created by Sarah Thompson, who is Tony Robbins' senior mentor. That was a big selling point for this program within WorldVentures. This program was designed to basically have the reps volunteer at the events and help run it. It was designed to be like a personal growth and development, like boot camp kind of a style, and also be able to feed into like the helping others and, getting special training. I really got roped into this because I was failing at the business, and my upline leaders were like, hey, like this would be really good for you to do. With the ambassador program, most people get there like the Wednesday before the event, so that way they can actually explore the city. And then on Thursdays, they would have like us check in and then basically do a special training like in the afternoon, go over like the logistics for the weekend, and you're placed on different teams. So like the hallway team, the lines team, the registration team, like you're in the bowl team, recognition team, and like there's a bunch of like other like teams, and like to help with the flow of the event, especially since those events averaged anywhere from like 15,000 people to 17,000 people. That was like the average for each big event, and they had 4 big events each year plus the local ones in between that. So basically every single month there was an event to go to for training. With that, like they had us wear these like shirts so that way we could stand out, so that people know like, hey, this is a go-to person. If you had a question for the weekend, you would be wearing generally a bright colored shirt with whatever they wanted on the front of it and the back of it. And it's very clear like, hey, this is like an ambassador, like this is a safe person to talk to. If there's a problem that came up, like talk to them, and like, it gets sorted out. Right away, like you're already standing out at an event. All of a sudden, like you've become, the face for WorldVentures. Also, too, like it was another form of information control as well, because like you're privileged to certain information that you can't tell like the other reps. It was very common. I don't remember an event where this was not preached at, of to always be in a peak state of mind. Like if you're feeling tired, you're supposed to say, I'm feeling energetic, and like you're supposed to like shift your body, like language, and like dance around, or like, stand up or do something. That was like a very much a thing of this ambassador program, which is also in other companies now, because when WorldVentures went bankrupt in 2020, a lot of people that were heavily involved in this program went to other companies. And so like they're in other companies. Viago, WorldVentures went to Secret as like a failed merger, and then Secret as of last year went and switched their name to Viago. That's still very much a thing. Viago just had their big national like last weekend, in Texas. Also from WorldVentures, Experience, another travel MLM. That founder was a trainer in WorldVentures. They have some of that teaching and that kind of thing at that company. And so like it just kind of just dispersed into this like volunteer program within an MLM, which is really scary to think about. Like Thursdays, it was just like this intense like kind of training and like logistics. We went through like the venue so that way like we knew where everything was. We would leave like in the evening, and it's like we were there like a good half of the day just on Thursday. And then generally in the mornings, yes, I also did this. There's the 4:30 a.m. crew, so where like you're out there at 4:30 in the morning because people are in line at that time, and you're there to help with the line because the lines got so messy because there's so many people that were there. And so you'd be talking to people in line, you make sure like it's like the clear bag, it's going through and this and that. Like you do that, you already don't have a lot of sleep the night before. You're doing this, you're always having to problem solve. And then like when like the regular like line team came in, like you got tapped out, basically switching spots with somebody. And you go back and you rest. And some people like took a nap. I often kind of took a little nap afterwards. And then you go on throughout like the rest of the day. With the ambassadors, we had like our own separate room. Like no one else was allowed in the room. Where like again we could have our special training. We had like our own like special room and everything. Like they fed us 3 times a day. Often the meals kind of sucked. So like most people just ended up spending money like in the venue, or like we brought in our own food. And so like we were just again like certain privileges that other participants weren't allowed to have. So like we could have our own like water bottles and like food and like whatever else. And like we had just to have our own space. And so like a lot of people were like, well, we're just gonna quote unquote serve because like we get this extra stuff versus just like, sitting down and listening to the training. And so a lot of people like, did that for a lot of the events. Also too, if you worked the entire event, you get back half of what you paid for the ticket. And so like that's where a lot of people like, again, they could afford to do it, is because they worked the event. Okay, so backtrack to Friday. So Friday after, you show up early, you help with the registration process, putting together like WorldVentures had their like little bags with like basically like a book for like the weekend where you could take your notes and like the schedule. They also had it to where like on an app as well, like there was the schedule on an app too. But so basically you're just putting together like a little bag to give to everybody who like registers. Energy, especially Friday, was supposed to be like really high all day. And that was the pressure put on us with Sarah Thompson, is so that way, whoever shows up, whether it's like at 10 a.m. or like, 5 p.m. to get registered, is the exact same experience for everybody. If we were like kind of like, getting a little low in energy, like someone where you'll like switch and like, and like you're like clap your hands and like the energy supposed to get like a lot higher in the room. And if there was someone who was new that was there for the first time, we were supposed to say like, we got a newbie, and like everybody was supposed to like clap for them. There's just all these like things that just kind of added up and up, outside of actually going to like the event itself, that just in hindsight I was like, man, like I did all that. I actually worked like 14 events total. I am beyond familiar with how things are run, unfortunately. And fortunately, because now I can expose it. So Friday was mostly just getting people like registered and like dealing with like the main problem for Friday was like people are trying to bring their luggage into the venue and like they couldn't do that. Or, in the store, like we helped set up the store. And at the end of the event, like we also tore down the store as well. And so like we basically did everything. There was a group of people that just could translate the event the entire weekend because they had translators. Because like we had a lot of people that came from like overseas. There was some people like who were ambassadors, like their main role for the weekend was just to, basically translate into these translators for people. So that way they understood what was happening. And then like there is like, of course, like the specialty like tables at the events of like if there's any new product that was going to be coming out, or they always had the foundation table as well. There was only certain people that could work the foundation table because that was the only place that actually dealt with cash. Everything else was on a card. There was only like a handful of people that actually did the foundation table at the events. I did that a couple of times because I had gotten really close to the person who actually ran the foundation at WorldVentures. There was one person who was with them for a while, and then she left for whatever reason. And then another person came in, and like I had gotten really close with her the last couple of years that WorldVentures existed. So like WorldVentures Foundation, they had a lot of different like little projects. One of the main things was Hug It Forward, and they had built, or they still are in existence, but they build bottle schools in Guatemala. And so in Guatemala, they don't have a trash system. So they fill bottles full of trash and then use that as the structure for the actual school. You can go on a trip to help build like a bottle school. Those schools are earthquake resistant up to like 50 years. And so like that was a big thing of like always raising money to help education in Guatemala. That was one thing. That's definitely legit. But they had other parts as well that was, in other like third world countries, to where it's like they would basically go there, take whatever women created, like jewelry or sandals, and like they would sell it at the events, and they would give them back, that profit. In 2020, someone from corporate told me that the WorldVentures Foundation wasn't actually a legit foundation until the last person took it over and had to clean up a bunch of mess. I'm not fully sure of how exactly it wasn't a legit foundation, but from someone from corporate to actually say that to me and say that she had to clean up basically this other person's mess, it really says something about, well, everything. I was like, there's no words just to say about that, because I know like MLMs, like they use like, oh, like we're helping out this person or this foundation, and like they use it a lot. And so it's like, okay, well, how legit is that though? Really? And a huge thing like that WorldVentures like said a lot was like, we have like the heart to serve and to give back. And it's like, okay, well, how much are you actually giving back though? Like, where are those numbers? How much are you actually pocketing for yourself? Me and another person, his name is Tony. He had actually got me really roped in on the foundation side, because that was the part like I liked the most about WorldVentures when I first saw it. Like we would just fundraise on our own for Hug It Forward, and like we raised a lot of money. Like I raised over 50 grand for them, but like I knew when I raised it, it was going directly to them and to the owners, because I knew the owners. And then plus whatever money I raised during the actual event itself. So like I've raised like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for them. And for some reason, Julie, the old person who ran the foundation didn't like me and Tony, because like we were just basically like, no, screw you guys. Like we're just gonna do our own thing and do stuff locally. And so I was like, it's like, I think there's a reason why she gave us a lot of pushback. That was a huge thing that kept me like longer, is because people were expecting me to not only like show up to the event to like work it and to be helpful in that aspect, but also from the foundation side as well, of like, oh, like Jessica, like she's like this go-to person for the foundation. Before WorldVentures shut down, which is now Dream Trips, so it's still technically alive, just not called WorldVentures anymore. We had actually gotten a trip made to where people could come out here to Colorado, have like a fundraising concert with like local musicians to raise money for Hug It Forward. And like that was a pretty big accomplishment for us before everything like shut down. I am really familiar with like the corporate side of it, in the sense of like I knew the corporate people from doing all the things at the weekend. Because like Saturday and Sunday, like we were working the store, like we rotate when we have like lunch. Again, like if corporate needed something to be done, like we just gladly did it. One of the people, I think his name was John McKillop or something. He was in WorldVentures corporate team, and he actually like came to the ambassador hub and talked to us several times. Like I met him in person. So he was in WorldVentures, and then he did another MLM, and then to Transact Card. Yeah, so the ambassador program, like it really screwed people up with just like their emotional intelligence, their thinking. They just were so like, oh my gosh, like Sarah Thompson said this, and like she had another co-pilot as well, Mitch Blackford. But of like, oh, if these people said it, like it has to be true. And there was me and a couple other people, and like we always kind of questioned stuff, and it's like we never actually really got along with them because we gave a little pushback of like, well, why is this the case? Like, why is this? But because of like, oh my gosh, like you were ambassador, like it just puts you way more in front with like everybody else, like because like people need like the trainers, and like you were kind of like on that pedestal of like being a trainer, but like you were an ambassador, like you were like another like elite club, status. And so like because of that, like you got to talk with like the leaders, and you got to meet Wayne Nugent, the founder of WorldVentures. It just was like this kind of this status. I'm like, I don't really like it. And it's like you just get roped into this pattern of, okay, presentation, maybe doesn't work out, sign someone up, go to the event, do this. And like before you know it, like you've done it for so long, so where it's like, wait, how much time did I actually spend in this company? How much money did I actually spend? And so like you just get into this like habit, and there's definitely a lot of cognitive like dissonance when it comes to like, when you're in an MLM, because you're doing things that you normally wouldn't do. That just gets you really roped in for sure. And then also too, they definitely used religion a lot in a controlling way. And that really that helped people stay in longer. Definitely got, stuck in like longer than I should, because I'm like, oh my gosh, they have a church service and, this and that. And a lot of the leaders were Christian. And so like they definitely use faith as a tactic to mess people up. Terry Camp is an excellent example of that. He is a pastor. He was a trainer in WorldVentures. You're going to laugh at this, Julie. But Marcus said it. With his training wisdom, had this special thing to where you were knighted to be an elite trainer. So like there's this whole big like little ceremony that he does on stage of like he's like knighting these people to become trainers. So Terry Campos was knighted, Julie. He's special, okay? So yeah, so he often like did like the Sunday, it was optional before the actual training started, like a service. In the morning, like him and a couple other people just kind of like rotated it. We might have to do this like another time, but I actually have a recording that Mira Camp did for me, a training that she did. And it was like years ago. So like I actually have that because she emailed it to me. So I'm like, I got proof. She and Terry, like they definitely use God, not in the best way, when it comes to like MLMs. you know, for me, like as a Christian, like that just, it really messed with me initially, like being in there. God wouldn't want you to be scamming people and deceiving people and, you know, not having the best character. And that's something that like MLMs do, is that like it's just full of deceit and, you know, brainwashing and using people for your own gain, and, you know, celebrating at other people failing, because like you can't win in an MLM. Like you're celebrating people being scammed, you know, when they hit a rank. And so them, it's terrible when it comes to that. And I think they did another company, and then now Fix. So woohoo, again, another MLM that Julie's covered recently. And so like they just have this trail of everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just insane. And then like another guy, Ed Blunt, also a trainer in WorldVentures, left, and now he's in Connect, which actually Ray Higdon did a video on like a month ago on his channel. And so yeah, there's a whole presentation on that. There's just so much that has stemmed from this company that I think a lot of people just don't really realize. And saying these names out loud really helps break down, like you're idolizing them, helps break that down of like, cool, like I don't idolize you anymore. You know, I'm not afraid to say your name of, you guys didn't do right by people. And also too, it's like that information control of, well, this person actually was in this company before this company. Like they just didn't hit rank at this company. Really breaking that down in that timeline is really helpful for people to know. WorldVentures that went into like secret, a lot of those trainers went into secret. Now it's like Viago. I sent Julie this video of this past weekend of them like literally chanting. It just, you watch it and it's so creepy. Like it's definitely like, this is a cult. Ventures was really good about really just hiding information from people. The ranking systems that they had, not just like the normal like ranks you had in WorldVentures, but like in the ambassador program, you had different like ranks in there of like the normal people and versus like a captain of a team, or they had it like a 3-star, but like with that, like you were voted into like that position to where like you could basically run the event. Like it just was all this like ranking systems, and like if you didn't get this rank or, you know, the status or this recognition, it's like you felt like you were a failure. I never like really felt like that when I was in, but I know a lot of other people like they took it more to heart than I did. And I was like, all right, cool. And also like when you're in, they have it to where, I know this is true with like other MLMs, but like your upline leader, because like they invested so much into you, like you feel obligated to try to do well, whether it's like go to another event or to do another presentation or to read another book that's thrown at your face or an audio. Wayne Nugent, he did a call with certain people. If you like want this promotion or whatever, I have screenshots of the books that he would like list. He's like, these are the books that I read. Again, very common across the board of Think and Grow Rich and other stuff. WorldVentures also had Shaq come to like one of the events, and people could take pictures with Shaq. There was one time where they had Robert Kiyosaki come. He spoke at one of the events. It just is this like little, not little, but like this network of scammers. But yeah, like, so I got roped in for quite a while. The whole time like I was in, I didn't fully feel like I was myself. Rightfully so. I noticed that people weren't being treated how they should be treated, and the issues that I saw, I thought because like, oh, I'm in this like unique position, I can speak up to like a leader about it and have them like fix it and address it. And so for like a little bit, I was trying to do that of like, you know, how about we do things this way versus this way to be more ethical. That didn't go over super well at all. In the events, like especially like the big national events, there is a lot of self-policing of like, you can't record the event. Like you have to get the audio afterwards. You can take pictures, but like no recording. So like WorldVentures had Momentum, United, Boot Camp, and The View from the Edge. And they all served a different purpose. They all had their own color. So the colors that were talked about within WorldVenture was like yellow, like there's like the helpers, and like the caring people, and red, like they're really driven and, you know, kind of arrogant. And like the greens, like they're analytical, and the blues, they're really fun, like they don't like to be on time for anything. And so like you're categorizing these people of like, oh, look, they're just being blue right now, or, you know, like, oh, that's just the right thing to do, or like you're dysfunctional like yellow or something. And so like you just put them in these like little, you put people in these boxes, and you're just like, what? Like, this doesn't make sense. Each event was like, oh, this is for like this kind of color. It was very interesting, like the whole thing. For me, when I left, I won't go into too much detail about this just because of where I'm at in life, but when I left in 2020, I formally quit into like a couple of years ago. But when I stopped basically participating in everything, I was in a really bad car accident, which should have killed me, and I should have passed away from my injuries. And a huge wake-up call for me was that like really nobody that I had met in WorldVentures cared. There was only a slight handful of people that actually did care. All the people that I had invested, I don't know how many hours into, didn't care. They stopped talking to me after I stopped going to the events. And because of 2020 with COVID, they had switched everything to virtual. And that's when I was like, man, I'm actually saving a lot of money by not traveling. And I was like, this is ironic for a travel club. Like I kind of was already on my way out, like at least a year-ish or so beforehand. Like I was kind of already starting to kind of wake up. So again, some things are just not making sense at all. There was one time where like they really thought we could have a dream trip to the moon. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, yeah, we're going out of space. And I'm like, what? Like it just, for me, like this is like, it was like, this is delusional.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. They literally just came out with trips to outer space. Are you kidding me? Outer space, we're literally gonna fly with Virgin Air to outer space, dream trips. What do you think about that, John? Are we going?
We going to the moon. Let's go.
No. They didn't say to the moon. They said we're going to outer space, not the moon. We can see the moon, I'm pretty sure, a lot closer. We're going to outer space dream trips. And not to mention, on top of all that, they're letting you get started for only $100. $99 for a package that's going to cost over $1,000 on August 17th. So literally, you're gonna save $400 to get started now, between now and August 16th, $100, and we're going to space to join a #1 travel club that gives us the opportunity to go to space. What? Drop the mic. You should be here.
Like, how are you guys believing this? And then like the fly card. So, good old fly card, so transact card and whatever else. I have screenshots of like what was happening in this Facebook group of the fly card, and I actually did get the card itself. So there's a screenshot of the actual card, but basically it was like all your money into like this one card, bank, green like light that flashes, and you just kind of basically all your banking information is into like this one card, and like it's linked to like the MLM. I was already on my way out even before 2020, but there was things that were happening that was just making more and more sense in my brain. Like, okay, like we're okay like leaving this. I think regardless of 2020 and everything, I probably would have already left on my own accord. It's like I just was honestly over it. I was over how people are being treated. I was over the fact like I was saying stuff and things they weren't changing. I was over the fact of just how everything was being run and being taught. This is pretty common at the local events. They would have like a trainer basically push like the next event to go to. There would be a break. During the break, like you're supposed to get your discounted ticket. At the end of the break, the trainer would be like, all right, like who got like your ticket? And people like, oh, I got it. And like they'd have them go to the front of the stage, like recognition, like you got your ticket. Then the people that didn't get their ticket for whatever reason were in the chairs. And the trainer would go to each person and try to get them to go to the event. And I'm like, I hated that part. And I was like, if they can't go, they can't go. Like, it's fine. Now I understand why they were pushing it. Like, so they did stuff like that, like all the time. So in 2020, after my accident, confidently, like now, like I can say, like, I've made less than 10 real friends in WorldVentures. And I've met hundreds of people. That to me is just amazing of like, oh, it's a community. It's this and that. I'm like, no, it's not. It really isn't. And this is something I noticed too, especially towards the end of like, if somebody stopped going to the events, people stopped talking to them. And I'm like, well, why? That doesn't make sense. For me, like that never made sense. And I would always try to talk to them. I'm like, hey, like, how's it going? Like, I wasn't trying to push them to do anything, but I was like, hey, like, I truly want to be your friend. For me, just in the aftermath of everything, of just how I'm being treated by people I thought were my friend, they aren't. And also it's like I don't support anything that they do anyways, because like most of them are still in MLMs. It's just like, yeah, I see right through you. So like it makes sense for me like why they don't talk to me anymore, which is fine. I really don't care. I got over that pretty quickly. And I was like, all right, cool, like I'm over you. This is how you're going to treat people. Like, this is not okay. Like, I could have died, and plus I had a lot of life happen since then, like really crickets. And so like in this past fall, like my mom passed away. No one reached out to me that I met WorldVentures about it, except for maybe 5 people. And I was like, that's saying something. But if someone else is going through something hard, the leaders and everybody else is like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, this and that. I'm like, okay. So they get the emotional support, which how much is that is actually true support is to be said. But they get that, but I don't. What does that say about the people that you're supposed to be following for advice or in leadership? That says a lot about that character of that person. And a lot of it is like, I think it's just for show. So I was like, okay. It just, it makes you like really think about, well, why are you listening to a lot of these people? As Julie knows, I'm the queen of sleuthing. I will find information. It'll come to light regardless. So there's this couple, I mentioned him at the beginning, but like he was like the youngest IMD, Lorenzo Roybal. There's a video of Marcus Seta talking about him, like he's buddy with Marcus Seta still. He was a pretty big trainer within WorldVentures for years. The first time I met him was in 2012. And before that, I think he was in at least a couple years before me. So a very long time he's been in network marketing. So he went from, him and his wife, Taylor, went from WorldVentures to Secret briefly. And then they had switched to Modere and became friends with Justin Prince. And now they are in Make Wellness. And they also use God as a tactic for their posts and everything. So like you're having this person to this person to this company. And it's all connected. Yeah, like my buddy Jeff, like after one of our friends like passed away, he was like, you should really watch this because you start talking about like some MLM stuff and like some little bit of anti-MLM content. And he was at my place and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll watch this video, and like got my little good dose of Julie right away. And I was like, all right, this is cool. So I was like, all right, it's my first introduction, I guess. So like I watched this, like I just like, I'm gonna soak up this video and this video, I'm gonna watch this other person. And so like I watched I don't know how many hours of anti-MLM content to deprogram my brain. A ton. And it's all great. And so like I highly recommend that as well. Is just like binge watching anti-MLM content, whether it's in the company that you're in or really any other company. It really does help of just like breaking down of like, wow, this is actually really similar to like what I was taught. Yeah, like I have been invited into I don't know how many groups since then, like MLM groups. And I'm upfront with the people. I'm like, I'm not going to join at all. You do know that, right? They're like, yeah, whatever, just join anyway. So it's like, cool. So I joined Transact Card for a couple of weeks, and I went through and I screenshot a bunch of stuff. I was like, woohoo! I was like, also like, this is really intense. Like the language that they use, it's so mind blowing to me. Of like, I was a part of this environment for like years. How on earth did we do this? Like, I don't know. It's exhausting. It's exhausting being a part of an MLM group. Man, like I think way more clearer now than I was then, hands down. Park Lane, I got invited to Park Lane group. And especially like in 2020 to like kind of mid 21, whenever I would try to catch up with somebody and they were in an MLM, all they heard was, I have this fix for you. Let me pitch you on this. And I'm like, I don't need a pitch. I need a friend. For me, I'm like, that was like honestly the biggest turnoff. Like I was like, that's why like I will never join another MLM. You know, I got pitched Color Street. You name it, I got pitched it. So like Live Good. I just like all this stuff. It's like, oh, with this, so try this. And it doesn't make sense. There's a couple people like I am really good friends with still, and they are a part of Viago. But one of them, like I can tell like emotionally like that she just has gone downhill with just how she talks to people because of the other. So it is common with MLMs to have like a lot of coaches afterwards. This lovely nut, Darren Walker, his thing is like, be iconic, basically be you, and like you can live off of that. And to do his coaching thing, and he also was a trainer in WorldVentures. I think I've said that I don't know how many times during this video. To get his lovely coaching is $10,000. I know at least 6 people that have joined that. And that is to have one-on-one time with Darren Walker. And again, he also uses God in a bad way. You know, you have to do this call and this call, and you have to do so many lives. And I'm like, this is so ridiculous. Like, you guys don't make sense anymore. Like, you really don't. Like, and outside looking, like, you really can see it. Like, when you're in it, like, it's another thing. But like, looking inside now, I'm like, whoo. My upline leader, I hope he gets out one day. Whether that's the case, who knows? But like, I really do hope he gets out. What was it, like last time, about this time, like last year actually, he had randomly called me, and up until this point, like, I really hadn't talked to him a whole lot since like 21. He called me to say like, hey, like, how are you doing, this and that. I'm like, hi, how are you? And then he was like, so I'm offended by Kalika's post that she did like a month ago about anti-MLM stuff. And I'm like, okay, that was a month ago that she posted an anti-MLM post on her Facebook, and you're calling me about it? Why? And so he wouldn't say we had an argument, but a discussion. We had an argument about MLM stuff for about an hour. And I'm like, this is a scam, first of all. This. And I was giving him like the proof. And I'm like, your whole purpose of calling me was because you were offended by anti-MLM posts that Kalika did. What do you want me to do about it? I'm not going to tell her to take it down. So like, in fact, I love that post. So like, what do you want from me? It just is so bizarre. And like, in that conversation, I was like, our friendship has changed. You know that, right? And he's like, it hasn't changed. I'm like, it has changed. We don't see each other anymore. We don't talk to each other, which is fine. I'm fine with it. He had promised to come over and to hang out like we normally would hang out. Did he do that? No. Last week, I went, two of our friends who did join our team. Thankfully, they're mostly out. They're not going to join like another MLM. They haven't fully like deprogrammed either. So that's another conversation, is like, when you're actually out of an MLM, like, you need to deprogram your brain. That is extremely important. It's not just enough just to quit your membership, but you actually have to deprogram what you're taught. I saw him for the first time in over a year last week. And it was so interesting. Like, he was trying to categorize this couple into like being a blue, because they actually were like 2 minutes late to their own courthouse wedding. But he's like, it's such a blue thing to do. And I'm like, yeah, they'll be here. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm not going to categorize people. And then like towards the end of our time together, he was trying to bring up like old drama again. And I'm like, I'm over that. Like, I just shut it down right away. I think a huge part of him, like especially last year, with him being offended by Kalika's post, I think because like I was the person that was in his team the longest, I think he was trying to rope me back into like validation or like whatever. And I'm like, yeah, no, like, you don't have control over me, and that's perfectly fine. There's power in like speaking up against them, and but also just like not feeding into like them and their tactics. You know, like last week with like me just setting those boundaries with him, it's like, yeah, I think differently now in a good way, and you know, we're not going to do this. So that's where I draw the line. It's been insane, the whole MLM stuff, and again, being invited to groups even though like they know like I'm not going to do anything. And it's so telling of like, it's true, like any company, it doesn't matter the product whatsoever. It's basically all the same thing. I will say, with me being in Transact Card for like those 2 weeks, it was really clear to me. I'm glad I did this after like I deprogrammed my brain like a lot. It's really clear to me of who were the actual victims and who were the people taking advantage of others. it was really, really clear to me about that. Me, Jeff, and Kalika, we talk all the time. Like the other weekend, we talked for like 4 hours. It was beautiful. And like we share all this stuff. Like we find all the things between all of our brains. And like it's a beautiful, beautiful like relationship. And like we were all in the same company for about the same time, but we all had completely different experiences. When we were all like, we all basically kind of deprogrammed together, which is really cool. And in that, they're like, wait, we didn't know that happened. Did that happen? We didn't know that that was a thing. Oh, wait, that actually happened in there? And one of the things I told them was like in the ambassador program was that like, this is how much control they had over people's minds. Was that like, I remember after one event, so at the end of like the Sunday, after everybody goes home, like in the ambassador hub, we would have, or like closing ceremony. It was supposed to be really fun and like, you know, like, oh, this person was like the ninja for like the weekend and whatever else. And, you know, like our shares, our takeaways, you know, very heartfelt. For some, yeah, Sarah Thompson, she was just so obsessed with like being in a peak state and like your relationships and all that. She was like, oh yeah, like this is another way like you can always be like in a peak state is to have an orgasm. And so she had a 3-star come up to the front of the room and he had a fake orgasm with his clothes on in front of the room. He did this willingly. Julie, I know you have something to say.
I don't know what to say. I'm feeling like a full range of emotions right now, like surprise, disgust, fear, sorrow. Like this is a lot. This is
towards the end
WorldVentures.
of my experience. Yeah. This was towards my end of my time in WorldVentures. And I'm like, what is this? And here's the thing. Nobody has talked about it since then.
I wonder why.
Like, we all just yeah, I know. Well, I'm saying it now. But like, and I'm like, they didn't know that happened. Like, I actually had suppressed that memory, you know, because like there's trauma. And like also too, it's like, well, with any MLM, especially in the ambassador program, it's like they're really good about breaking you down and then building you back up again. There's this one time where at that point in time, I was the closest with this person, not anymore, but she just went through this really big life event. She, you know, stood in the room and she was sharing what she needed to share. Sarah was like, she was breaking her down. And she's like, I need you to say like this phrase. And I forget the phrase, but she's like, this is what you need to say and actually believe it. And this person was like saying it over and over. And she's like, I don't believe it. I don't believe this is what you actually mean. And she's like, I need everybody in this room to raise their hand when they actually believe what you're saying. And she pointed at me and she was like, when your hand is raised, that's when I know that she actually believes this saying about herself. Like that was beyond uncomfortable. And she would do that like kind of all the time. But that's how like, as part of like them programming you and like brainwashing you, is like they break you down to your core and then they build you up in the way that they want you to be built up. There is a reason why I didn't really share you know, in front of the group. So
And I want to say, like you kind of revealed you are one of my sources for Transact card there with the sleuthing that you did. I just want to give you credit because, well, if you're watching this and you've seen like what happened with Transact card and Finware and where Jessica's describing a few screenshots, it was a lot more than a few screenshots. This was like full on. I got so much information and you know, I just want to thank you so much for all the work that you're doing that, you know, people don't know about it. And it's representative of what other people are doing as well, just in the background, helping other people, still maintaining relationships. You know, we each have a role to play however we can. And I just want to thank you so much for everything that you've done and what you continue to do.
Oh, you're so welcome. And that's another reason why, like, I want to be, you know, anonymous too, is so that way I can do this as well, because that is, it's so important to go in. And it's like the mental game is so real, like even after being out, like as I'm sure you know, Julie, but like just to go in and to make more content about it and whatever else. For me, like it is rewarding in the fact that by all of us doing our part, we're helping people not join and get out. Seeing that decline over the last couple of years especially has been like really cool. I'm like, yay. So like it's really, for me, like that's really cool of like, cool, like we're just gonna shut this down. Like we're not gonna make it like as large as it is gonna be. And yeah, unfortunately there's still gonna be people that join and everything, but there's people that I've talked to that, you know, like, oh, like the EMS company or this or that. And I'm like, no, it's a scam. It's this, it's that. And to actually give them like resources, they're like, oh, okay, great. Like we're really not doing that. And so like it really makes them stronger in their belief of like, cool, we need to stay away. One of my friends, I reconnected with her the last few years and went to high school together, and like we talk pretty much every single day, which is awesome. And I talked to her about like, you know, like I was in WorldVentures and this and that. And a lot of our high school class actually was in WorldVentures as well. She asked me, she's like, yeah, I know this couple, they're in Primerica. She's like, how do I talk to them? And I'm like, well, here's some resources if they are open to it. But I said, like, do they track their expenses? And they're basically are broke because of Primerica. She told me recently, she's like, yeah, like I think the wife is pretty much on her way out. The husband is kind of following her and everything, which is awesome. And then she's like, Jessica, because you were in WorldVentures, is this company a scam? Is this company a scam? I'm like, yep. Like I can spot it a mile away now. And she's like, cool. Yeah, there's shame in being a part of an MLM, but there's also freedom in speaking out against it as well. Because like, hey, like it happens to everybody. Like I met a friend recently, a couple like weeks ago. You know, we kind of just caught up about a couple people, and you know, we just caught up overall. And you know, I just casually mentioned, like, yeah, I was roped into like WorldVentures and this and that. She's like, I was, you know, Mary Kay. She's like, well, I guess it's part of being an adult. Like, you just get like, you know, happens to everybody. And I was like, yep. And so, like, I think it's more common than people like realize. And I think that part needs to be more normalized of like, you're not alone with your experiences. And man, we all have some wacky stories to tell. I was talking with my therapist last year. I was talking about some MLM stuff and everything. And of course, we talk about other things. But he was like, huh, that kind of reminds me of something. There's like this vacuum company. And he started to describe it. I'm like, dude, you were in Kirby for like a week. He's like, I was in MLM. I'm like, yeah. So like it's so much more common than people realize. Yeah, it's so mind-blowing to me. I'm like, wow, everybody has been touched by it at some point or other. Like when my parents were in college, like they did a little bit of MLM stuff too. So it's like everybody has some, you know, form of their experience with MLMs, like whether being roped in or, you know, being shown a company, or like their parent was an MLMer. You know, kids are growing up in that household. It's more common than people like realize. But yeah, another thing is that I had taken a screenshot. I want to say it was 23, but there's good old Wayne Nugent decided to have a WorldVentures reunion party at his house, and people showed up to his house to have a WorldVentures reunion party. They paid for it to go. There was tickets, Julie, to go to a WorldVentures reunion party. And I took screenshots of the comments that were in this picture as well. And people were like, oh my gosh, like, oh, this. And here's the thing too, is like a lot of people still look at WorldVentures as a fondest time. And I'm like, it is not, though. In hindsight, it was the exact opposite. It's so crazy just like looking about like all this like hindsight of, being roped in. I'm like, yeah, no one held, weapon to me or anything, but they still controlled you. And that's what people don't realize, is that when you're in an environment and there's so many factors that play into it, you just get sucked in. And then like often people feel like I'm a failure. I didn't do this right. Or Scott Ross, who is the founder of Experience, again, also uses God as a control for his MLM. I know, it's the theme of WorldVentures, huh? He had this thing called a 3-step setup for WorldVentures.
Have you ever been intimidated to invite because you're afraid of your friend's reaction? Have you ever been nervous about how to bring up the subject of WorldVentures once you're at the appointment? Want a way to have your friend genuinely eager to hear about WorldVentures and in some cases be virtually ready to enroll before the presentation even starts? Time out. Welcome to Quick Coach, the training library for WorldVentures reps on the go. Let's talk about a technique called the 3-step setup. Let's break down the 3 steps. 1, your why. 2, big deal, all in. And 3, no pressure. We start with your why. Another way to think about this is your problem. A good acronym to remember for why is, what hurts you? Here's why. Life usually looks better on Facebook than it really is, right? So in this step, we're going to share why we're doing WorldVentures. We need to get real with our friends and let them know some of our problems. Be vulnerable. Are you missing your kids growing up? Are you in debt? Are you struggling to have enough retirement income? Share this with your friend. Be raw and authentic. This gets them thinking about their life and gives them permission to be real with us. Be mindful to use Me Too statements and not so what statements. For instance, even though you may have the goal to get a BMW through the WorldVentures opportunity, saying, I've always wanted a BMW, is a materialistic so what statement. Instead, sharing a different aspect of your story like, I'm sick of dropping my kids off at daycare. I want to raise my own children and be there for them, is a personally meaningful Me Too statement. Your why could be anything. Things like, the last 5 years flew by and nothing has changed. Or, I had to move back home after school because I can't find a job. Just make sure it's authentic. Share your why as step 1. You would say, thanks for meeting with me. I've got something huge I want to share with you. It might seem like things are going well from the outside looking in, but... Then share your why in your own words. This should take about 15 seconds. Once you're done with the first step, you need to transition to step 2 by saying, I was looking for something, and I found it. We've introduced a problem to your friend that they A, identify with, and B, are dying to know how to solve. They already want to see the presentation. This moves us to step 2, big deal, all in. It sounds like this. Now, this thing I just found is a huge deal. It's spreading all over the world. I've looked at this thing top to bottom. I've done all the research, and I am all in. This is what I was looking for. What we've done here is establish posture. This is not some small-time thing. You're serious, and they should take it seriously. You've reduced the risk of receiving several of our most common objections. You've put your chips all the way in, using the poker metaphor, and you're subconsciously letting them know that their opinion is not going to impact you one way or the other. This moves us to step 3, no pressure. The last step is letting them know you're doing this with or without them, and here's how that would sound. Now, I don't know how this will strike you. I want you to know either way is cool with me and it's not going to affect us one bit. All I know is the people I'm working with and I see what's happening, and I don't want to miss out. We're going to show this to as many people as we can, and I wanted to give you the chance to be one of the first. Is that cool? In sales, this is a very powerful technique called the takeaway, and in this case, it's absolutely true. You're already committed with or without them. As funny as this may sound, people are more likely to take action when they feel that we don't care one way or the other. People follow people who know where they're going. You're giving them a chance to come with you. Make sure to say, "Is that cool?" as the last phrase. They always say yes. Now show them the presentation. Using this 3-step setup before every presentation can dramatically improve your results. Now, get back in the game.
Thanks for watching Quick Coach, your go-to solution when you need help fast. To access our complete library of in-depth audio and video trainings, be sure to get the WorldVentures Advantage. Bought for
to where you have to figure out your why. Like, why are you doing this? Like, is it to retire your parents? Is it to do this? And make sure your why is strong enough to where like it makes you cry. And apparently my whys were never good enough. So like your why, like you've done your research, you know, you're all in, and it doesn't matter if this person joins you or not. Like you're still gonna be friends afterwards. So it takes the pressure off of them, even though like it's pure pressure. And so like we were taught that that's what you needed to do for a presentation, is that like you have to your why, you're all in. It's a big deal, that kind of a thing. And like no pressure if they don't want to do it. You know, if they like don't want to spend money or whatever, just tell them to leave your wallet at home. It really, the whole thing is just like, man. So this is the kind of mentality that is being brought into, hi Kitty, into like a lot of other like MLMs. I do thank you for covering a lot of like WorldVentures stuff because it is not talked about enough. And I don't think people like fully realize just how destructive that aftermath actually is. And again, it's going back to just like the timeline of like when people joined. You know, like Marcus said, he was involved with other stuff before WorldVentures and other people. And so like, it's just that timeline of everything, which is really, really important to cover.
People don't realize, I didn't realize how so many companies, so many people that are at top of different companies, people starting new multi-level marketing companies, they came from WorldVentures. And I know it's like another example of how it all flows back to Amway. And that's why like I've been so appreciative of you explaining so much and being one of the people like speaking out about this company that's it doesn't exist, you know, per se, but it exists in the people that still continue to carry its like mission forward. And it like rebranded itself. It goes bankrupt, but these things, they just like morph into another company, you know, WorldVentures, Secret, Dream Trips, Viago, like it just keeps going. And I think, you know, you coming forward, you know, like among others, to expose this is so important because people don't fully understand that they're not alone, that they're one little tiny experience in another multi-level marketing company. It's connected.
Right. Like a lot of people went to iBoomerang, which is another travel MLM. How many travel MLMs are there? And Holton Bug is the owner of that. And I haven't looked fully into his history, but I know it's not a good history that he has. But like a lot of people from WorldVentures went into that company in 2020.
What would you say if you could go, I know you kind of already mentioned this, like if somebody had of like your brother, if he had of like presented you with more information, like like facts about the company beforehand, it might have got through to you. But I would still like to ask this question. If you could go back in time and you could intercept before you were going, you know, before you're going to walk into that meeting with your friend, before you are going to see those two other guys there to like starting the pressure, if you could like intercept yourself in that moment and it wouldn't disrupt, you know, world events, like it wouldn't change everything. If you could go back in time and change it so you wouldn't get recruited, and I know it's like, you know, you're stronger for the experience and all that, but like just to give advice for people, they're in this position. They're in the position to intercept a loved one about to be recruited into a multi-level marketing cult. What would you say to yourself in that moment as you're about to open that door, right? But what you're about to be exposed to?
I think it's really important to have a conversation with somebody before they turn 18 about MLMs and to really educate them before that even is a possibility. Because I didn't know that that was a thing. until college. And so part of that, the education of like, hey, whether it's MLMs or another form of being scammed, like that should start in the teenage years before they even join something. Because like I met somebody, quote unquote, somebody who was in WorldVentures. When he turned 18, he went and he got recruited into Amway, and he was in WorldVentures for a while, and then now he's in Live Good. And that was the most bizarre conversation I've ever had with anybody. He's now blocked. But so I think half of that is just having the education beforehand. So that way, like, you know, like when you actually see something, like, all right, hold up, stop, like we can leave. And so that's half of it. The other half, it would be, I wish I was strong enough in the moment just to leave and then have a conversation with my friend afterwards about it. Not to embarrass him in the moment in front of the other people, but just to be strong enough to like leave before anything else. It's okay. Two-part answer with that.
I think something that you said that's so important is to really emphasize to people how important it is to have them already familiar with MLMs and what they are and what they entail. And then just having that knowledge beforehand, it's able to bypass all this other stuff, because, you know, the pressure of the friendship that's being exploited, the uncomfortable, when we're uncomfortable to say no and to hurt somebody else's feelings when it's a friendship, you know, and to be, when you have that knowledge beforehand that this is going to be something that you experience, you're going to automatically be better equipped to do that, instead of, you just had no idea. So many of us, we just had no idea what we were getting into.
Yeah. And also too, it's just like, along with like saying like, hey, this is potentially like a scam or, you know, MLM, is being aware of like, hey, like, this is what like love bombing is. This is what peer pressure is as an adult. Because like we talk a lot about peer pressure, like when you're a kid or like when you're in high school. But as far as like actually having that conversation with somebody of like, hey, like these are signs that, you know, someone's using you, and being more open about that, that also really helps with this kind of, you know, thing. I mean, it's clipping to talk about like safety, you know, as like a woman or a man, you know, just like overall like safety, like at night and like being at a party and things like that. But you don't really talk about safety of like, well, if you're in a really uncomfortable meeting, what do you do? I think if there's more education with that, that really is helpful. And one of the things that was taught in WorldVentures, and I don't remember if Aaron Klein or Kalika ever talked about it as well, but one of the things was to have the guests not leave is to basically pick them up, because you are their ride. So therefore they have to see what is happening. So that was one of the things too. Like they always made a joke of like, oh, well, your friend can't like jump out of a moving car. So like basically you're supposed to like kidnap your friend to show them WorldVentures. Which was like, I never did that because I was like, that's not cool. Sure, other people are just gonna have other stories that I don't have, and information and experiences with it. But also too, it's just that kind of environment breeds really unhealthy relationships on so many like levels. I had met somebody, and turned out she was a pathological liar. I had met somebody and I thought she was my friend, and then like recently I was like, yes, true colors, cool, blocking you. It breeds like really toxic people, and just knowing the signs of like when someone is actually toxic and to walk away is really important, because there is power in doing that.
I thank you so much for the way you've explained it. I never knew that there was this ambassador program component in a multi-level marketing company, never mind WorldVentures. I know initially people listening to this, they might hear ambassador and automatically leap to thinking, oh, it's just another term for a representative, an independent business owner, an affiliate. But this was something else entirely. So while you were, you'd recruited 4 people, in 6 years, you didn't want to follow their tactics. Something is always wrong with you. You really found a purpose and belonging in unpaid labor at 14 events in 6 years at this stuff. And it's like, and that's 4 events a year they have. And then there's like an event every other month, which you're, saying there's like an event every other month. This is like all consuming, and it's wrapped up in like good works too. So there's legitimate charities. Then there's like the component of WorldVentures where was this charitable organization legitimate? I have no idea, but it's almost like the whole point of getting into it completely changed, or then you're part of this other inner circle. It's like an inner circle and then another inner circle and another inner circle. This whole exclusivity. You have a special training. You're held up as an example. So of course you want to have, you want to get in peak state all the time. Like, this has been so eye-opening. And I think that it's going to be so helpful for other people in other multi-level marketing companies that they're going to see their story reflected in yours, and they're going to add more pieces to this whole MLM puzzle.
It's like a lot of people, they're like, oh, we're failing at the business, which you are supposed to fail. That's how MLMs are designed. But like, they then find this purpose of like, well, if I can't win, then I'm going to help someone else win. And like, they really prey on helping others and like being needed, like finding a place in the company. And so whether it's the ambassador program, whether it's you volunteering at like a local event, and again, I hate the word volunteer and serve, but like, because it really is, it's pure labor. It's like you're just consumed by all of this, and like your time is so constrained with like, you have to go to the events, like you have to be around the campfire, like we're roasting s'mores here, so it's just all going up in flames. Your upline really does not have your best interest at heart, because it's all for their gain. When you're in an MLM, there is no form of like having your brain meet. Oh, sorry, what was I saying? There's no privacy. There's no filter. There's a very blurred line of like what you should tell to people and how you should tell people whatever information. You don't have private lives, like on social media and off social media. It's all well planned out, from how you get someone in, the phrases that you say, the training, the notes that you take. It's so well thought out at every single step in every single company that you will ever see. This is why it's so important to break down posts, break down videos, and actually go over it. It is. People like Terry Camp, Eric Gaspowski, who was a trainer in WorldVentures, Secret, Viago now. Other people, they say the exact same thing. They've said the exact same thing for years. Same stories, same lame jokes that you're supposed to laugh at every time. It's all the same. Like when you did your fix video with Terry Camp in it, I was like, I could give this presentation. I know exactly what the man's going to say. Like, there's no words for how evil that is. Yeah. Like, Eric Gaspowski, he's another crazy person as well. But, like, his big thing in WorldVentures was, like, he was the get paid guy. So he had his, like, little chant where it's, like, get paid, get paid, get paid. Because he's talking about like the residual income, and so like you would get paid and paid, get paid. So like he's known for that, Julie. That was a thing. I wish I had a recording of that. I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
And I remember at Kiel up in Madison, we were talking about this one day, and we were doing training. We were talking about how there's a rhythm to life, and why most people quit is they don't get how it works. See, because we're programmed, right? We talked about that before. Let me tell you how most people program. Go to school, get good grades, go get a good job. 40 hours a week, 45 years of your life, you get paid every 2 weeks, right? So here's how most people are wired. And this is why most of you will quit. Here's how you're wired. It goes like this. Work, work, get paid, right? Even in real estate, I'd sell one house, I get paid right away, right? But for most people, it goes like this: work, work, get paid, right? And this is how your life works: work, work, get paid. It's comfortable, right? You got that security. Work, work, get paid. 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 40 hours a week, 45 years of your life, and you go to the bathroom when somebody tells you to go to the bathroom. You go on vacation when somebody goes to vacation. You gotta check in when they tell you to check in, and somebody else owns your life. You build somebody else's dream, but you know, every 2 weeks, work, work, get paid. Work, work, get paid. Work, work, get paid. Let me tell you how WorldVentures works. It's different. You have to build it before the money comes. Here's our rhythm. You start out, and it goes like this. And a lot of you are here right now. It goes like this. Work, 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 get paid. That's how you start in this business. And then you go like this. Work, 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 get paid. And then you go like this. Work, 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 work. Go pay for a training, waste a Saturday, get paid. And then you go like this. Work, 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 get paid, get paid. And then it starts going, work, 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 work. Have to spend my own money to go to Las Vegas, pay for a training, get paid, get paid. And then you start going, work, 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 get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid. Getting a little better. And then it starts going, work, 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 get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid. Most of you have already quit. Let me tell you what my brother didn't realize. It flips. If you'll stick it out, watch what starts to happen. You start going work, 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 get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid. Oh yeah. And then you start going like this. Work, 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 get paid, 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 get paid. And then you start going like this. Work, work, get paid, 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 dream trip. Hello. Then you start going like this. Work, work, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid, dream trip, get paid, dream trip, get paid, magazine photo shoot. You go work. Get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid. You go pick out your free car. And at some point, you just start going, get paid, 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 get paid. Only if you're willing to go dig that ditch, you go to work right now, and you don't let anybody steal your dream. Yeah. Thank you.
But like, like that's his thing. He still does the same crap now in Viago. And I'm like, dude. Okay, so the reason why Secret had to switch to Viago, like same stuff, but it's the same stories. He looks tired all the time. And I'm like, okay, if it's true like residual income, and stop the double speak, because MLMs are good about that. You can't sustain that. It's the same crap. Secret's events have gone in downhill with the numbers, which is great. And they were failing so bad beginning of last year to where it's like, we need to rebrand everything from like Club Secret to like Viago. Let's go. And again, the stupid like little signs, like the "you should be here" signs is now in that, and Experian, and I'm sure Dream Trips, and I don't know if I'm sure other companies have it now. But yeah, so they were failing so bad to where like there was like teams leaving, tanking, sales were like getting lower. No one was getting product because they were always out. And Secret, their main like pitch was like they had Dead Sea products, so they were getting minerals from like the Dead Sea to come over for like their products. And because of what's happening overseas, like that's why they can't get it. But I'm like, but they were having that issue from the beginning though. Their reps believe it's because of that. I'm like, no, it's because it's an MLM and they're failing. This past fall, they launched to Club Viago, and I did send you the pre-launch video of that. Again, same crap that was in WorldVentures and other companies. It's there. But yeah, they're like, oh, it's the biggest launch ever, and this and that, and they're in this like little dinky ballroom of a hotel for the biggest launch ever. It's so insane. Like they're having like pictures up there. I was like, dude, that was from like a WorldVentures event. That was from a previous Club Secret event. And you can tell that because of the signs that were there, the people that was there, the size of the actual event itself. So it was like Club Secret, now it's like Club Viago. So it's all there. And like there's people that show up to these events. And so like the ambassador program is like, okay, you're there basically about a week. You know, most people do every 4 events each year to be a slave to the event. So you're basically taking off almost a whole month each year to do this. That's their travel. That's, driving or flying. That adds up. That's the food. You're actually spending a lot more doing something like that, whether it's in Viago or, another company. You're going to be spending a lot more money. So yeah, you're just wasting all this time and money and resources, and you're so exhausted afterwards because like you really aren't getting that much sleep each night because like you're like the last people there. You still have to go back to the place that you're staying at, and then you have to eventually fall asleep. And then most people just get a couple hours of sleep each night and then go back and then like they do the same thing every day. That's where it's like, okay, like you have the sleep deprivation. Most people aren't eating super well. And like you're more susceptible to actually being brainwashed that way. MLMs, like they have you in this constant state of mind of that. I mean, like, man, I'm more rested now that I'm not in there. Like I have way more time freedom now. My finances are a whole lot better. Like I'm thinking a lot better. Like my friendships are a lot better. Like I'm cool. Like it did not take me that long to get back to like an actual like life. There's still people, this is January of 25. There's still people that are in debt because of WorldVentures years later after it tanked. And I remember when WorldVentures went bankrupt, everybody lost their ever-loving mind about it. They're like, oh, what are we going to do? Guide me, upline leader. Like, what do we do? And so that's where a lot of people disperse to different companies to follow the team. That's why a lot of people initially join Secret, is to follow the team that was already been built upon. You're looking for guidance when like a company goes under, whether it's WorldVentures or another company. And like you have to think to yourself, like, why did this company actually go under? Because what we were told in that moment was not actually what was happening. Articles that came out behind MLM did some articles about it as well. Like, I didn't know any of that information, and I was in the company. Again, another form of information control. Like, when you're in it, it's like they're telling you one thing, which they want you to hear, but that's not actually what's happening in reality. There's definitely a lot of aftermath from WorldVentures, people, trainings. It's all the same crap.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for your courage, and I'm so happy that you got out. And I want to give you the last word. Any last words that you want to say?
I love doing this. I love being able to advocate for this. So even if a company is smaller, like Viago, and some other companies, it is worth discussing and talking about, because those people do need help once they get out. It was helpful for me to actually have content about WorldVentures And I know it's going to be helpful for other people who get out of Yago or really any other company that is smaller. It is worth talking about because like it is still a cult, it's still a scam, and people are still being taken advantage of. And it ties into the exact same, cycle of MLM world. It's all connected. And so I think talking about more of like the smaller companies is really helpful for so many reasons. And it's so important to talk about it because like, yeah, I mean, like stuff happens with like Monet and Amway and, these other companies, which definitely need to talk about that. But also talking about other companies too is really important because like you just never know who that's going to impact and who also might have the courage to also do a video and be able to speak up and to find some good stuff to talk about and to spill some tea. So I'm really glad that we gotta talk about stuff, Julie, and we gotta spill tea.